Hey there everyone, welcome to the unboxing and buying guide for the all-new TLR 8XTE and XT. Now I think a lot of people within the racing community kind of knew this Truggy was coming, but I bet what they didn't know was the fact that you would get both the electric conversion and the nitro conversion in one box. So that is a big deal. TLR has never done one box for both nitro and electric. You either had to pick one or the other or do some sort of conversion kit. So this is very new, very cool, and obviously this is the state-of-the-art, latest and greatest from TLR. So let's go ahead and start getting this thing cut open. Now right away, a lot of the stuff that's going to be kind of featured on this kit is already used on the 8XXE and then the 8X Elite. But this is not the same. There are several differences here that I'll point out. Another seal. There's a lot of little differences. I shouldn't say a lot. There's a quantifiable amount of differences between this and the buggy kit that are actually going to make this drive a little bit different than the buggy, in addition to it driving differently simply because it's a Truggy. As we open up the box, you will see everything's packaged quite nicely. Have your nice clear body, which you'll need to paint. You'll need to pick up some polycarbonate paint or pay someone to paint it for you. Brand new design. As you can see, there's not really a die cut. I don't know what the correct word is. There's no indentation to cut out for the nitro motor, and that's simply so that you electric guys, your body isn't like mutilated with weird little like cut lines and whatnot. But most of you nitro guys are more than capable of being able to figure out where that's going to go. One thing you will notice that is not in here is wheels and or tires. The reason for that is with Truggies, there's not a industry standard as with like 8th scale buggies, 10th scale buggies. Typically, like if you're going to run AKA tires, you have to run AKA wheels. If you're going to run J-Concepts tires, you have to run J-Concepts wheels. You can make them work, but that's one of the reasons we just don't put wheels in the kit itself. So I'm just going to pull the bags out as I come to them here. It looks like this is bag F, and it looks like it's a lot of the center diff stuff for the nitro kit. Some of this will probably be used for electric, but I don't know for sure. Here is bag K, which looks like it is actually an electric setup here. Battery tray and whatnot. And then a different center diff mount there. Bag G looks like it is receiver box and fuel tank, and then mudguard, so you'll definitely be opening that for either kit. Let's see, bag E looks like the wing, looks like this is the whole rear end actually. I see sway bar, wing, diff housings, so that's something I do want to talk about, shock towers, hubs. This is the first 8, TLR 8, where the rear center dog bone will actually enter in the center of the case. So if you're familiar with our 8 scales in the past, you'll know that the rear drive shaft originally was moved over to the outside of the pinion came on the outside of the ring, and that was to move the original 8 nitro engine more towards the center of the chassis. Well, we kind of changed that a little bit with the 4.0. It kind of offset the center diff a little bit, and then when we went to the 8X Nitro car, we kind of still use the same setup, but now with this Truggy kit, that center dog bone actually runs straight into the back of the ring and pinion. Hopefully there'll be some pictures that I'll be able to dub over this to show you what I'm talking about. Essentially, it's just a better, more equalized power delivery. It's one of the things that you want to do with a kit, but because of compromising here and there, you can't always make it work. Bag I looks to be air filter, clutch bell, engine mount. There is a center dog bone, it looks like, in there, so you may open that regardless. Bag H looks like it's the steering rack, and that's it, so you'll need that regardless. Bag A is all 3 diffs and the fluids, so it looks like you'll knock off the diffs right away, knock out the diffs. Very nice. Running out of space around my little table. Bag C is all of the turnbuckles, it appears. So turnbuckles, diffs knocked out right away. Here's bag J, which is Opium 1. Assuming that's probably supposed to say option. I remember the 8XE build I did a while back. Had an Opium 1 bag and it was funny. Opium 1 bag. Apparently option is can't be fit on that header card. Bag D looks like the front end, so I see shock tower, arms, diff case, hinge pins, setup, goodies. Bag B is all the shocks. All the shocks, all four. Looks like all four in there. Very cool. Then, of course, your manual saying, 8XT, 8XTE. And then the stickers, it looks like. So there is XTE branding. So I would imagine the sheet behind that will be just XT branding. So you can actually customize your body to where it's not just generic 8XT. Looks like if you plan to run the electric version, you can run the E sticker. Pretty cool. And then, of course, the chassis. So I know a lot of people probably want to see this. I'm going to go ahead and move this box out of the way because stuff's starting to fall on me here. The chassis itself, as you can see, is kind of set up to accommodate both your Nitro motor, where the flywheel would go for your bump box, and then, of course, the screws that would hold the actual motor itself in, the electric motor, are there as well. And then you have the two cutouts for if you run the electric setup, your center diff spur, not spur, but your center diff gear will end up there, unless you run like the E-clutch, then it would end up there. If you run the Nitro setup, your clutch bell flywheel would be here, and then the main, center diff would be there. Pretty narrow chassis, all things considered. Even with the 8X being wider than its predecessor, the 3.0s, the 2.0s, things of that nature, 4.0. Chassis isn't ungodly wider. Pretty nice, but it is beefy. Man, that is thick. So, let's quickly talk about what you're going to need here. So as you'll notice, this is a kit, if you didn't figure that out already. So you either have to pick Nitro or electric. So I will be doing this build as a electric setup. So both platforms will need a steering servo, and I recommend, I know servos are tough when you get to 8 scale because you really need a high torque, strong servo. I always recommend buying the best servo you can, but obviously, there's budgetary constraints. We totally, we get that. There is a servo saver built in, so keep in mind that when you do invest in a servo for 8 scale, they typically last a while. So I recommend a good high torque, standard size servo with as much torque as you can afford. You'll also need a receiver, so a 2-channel receiver will operate this. So Spectrum, SR215, even the 315. It's kind of personal preference if you obviously are running Spectrum. Otherwise, just any 2-channel receiver will work. And then I think that's all that's shared between the Nitro and the electric. One's, steering servo, receiver. So for me, I will be building this with a Spectrum 1900 kV brushless system, which is our Firma Smart technology. Really cool tech. It's going to be fun to throw together. I've never driven E-Truggy. I've been diehard Nitro Truggy, so this will be interesting. And then I'll have a Spectrum 4S Smart battery. And then aside from that, if you plan on racing, you would need a transponder as well. But that's really all you need specifically for the electric. So you have your steering servo, your receiver, your battery for the vehicle, motor, and ESC. Then obviously you'll need wheels and tires, paint for the body, build tools, and really that's it. A way to solder up your ESC if it doesn't already come pre-soldered. But yeah, pretty simple for electric. It's obviously not super cheap, so please, if you have any questions about what to throw into this guy, let us know. For Nitro, you're obviously going to need, same thing, steering servo, but you also need a throttle servo as well. Same receiver will work, and then you'll need the receiver pack, which I believe is kind of pretty specific to this radio tray. So don't just, if you're running like an old 4.0 or 3.0 Truggy, you'll probably need to look at what receiver battery you need, because it's not necessarily that same like square, like 2000 milliamp pack we were all running in the past. So please keep that in mind. You'll also need Nitro engine. Obviously we recommend like an OS 21, but that's all obviously personal preference to you guys. You'll need a header, pipe, wheels and tires again, and then like I said, transponder if you plan to race, and then obviously complete your body, wheels and tires. So there's a lot of things you need. This really isn't a beginner setup. It's a great way to learn about the hobby, but do keep in mind that this isn't a budget basher. What you get in the box is not everything you need. You're probably going to have to invest just as much to complete the vehicle as you did to purchase the kit. One more quick thing I want to point out. I know a lot of people are going to ask, how long it would take to do the conversion. Say you build the Truggy Electric, want to run Nitro, could you build both or do the conversion during a race or whatever? I know we've done it. We, as in TLR, has done it. It's not really recommended. You almost need to have like a spare chassis with like the Nitro stuff built in, to where you could throw your your rear end, front end on. So again, it's something you could do, especially if you're at like a big race, like a Psycho Nitro Blast type level race, DNC. That being said, you'd probably find it's not really worth the time invested. If you're already buying all the stuff to run Nitro and Electric, it probably would almost make sense just to buy another kit. I know that sounds like oh, who cares about the price of the kit? But the amount of time you're going to spend switching that back and forth is really not worth like the time value of money that goes into it. So yes, you can do it. You could theoretically run Nitro Electric with the same setup, same kit, I should say. But don't think that this is a simple conversion of just, pulling a few screws out, putting a few screws in. There is time involved, and the setup in general would probably be a little different between, what you're running in the center diff, especially like Nitro versus Electric. So please keep that in mind. It's possible. Do we recommend it? Not necessarily. So that has been the TLR 8XT and 8XTE unboxing and buying guide. I will be doing a build and covering it for you for some upcoming Horizon Insider coverage. Again, if you have additional questions, we didn't really cover the specifics of this kit as far as what you can adjust, what's new, what's different. I did mention the new rear center dog bone entry into the ring and pinion, but there's a lot of little neat things here and there that make this kind of the next step up, obviously, from not only, the 8T 4.0, but even just the next 8 scale from TLR. It's another step forward from even the 8X Nitro kit, the Elite kit that we just announced earlier this year. So without further ado, we will let you guys go. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in, I guess, the build video from there. So thanks again, and see you later.